And we have this very stylized, ridiculous view that is daily augmented on the BBC, on RTE, on CNN. Every single day, that fake view of reality, which bears no resemblance to the truth, is amplified through the television and the newspapers. And I'm privileged in that I've created a situation where I have been able to travel a lot, synchronistically, not with millions of dollars, but with a true heart and with growth. So the universe has supported me in my travels, and I've traveled widely, particularly in the last 5 years.
Right.
And I do not see any similarities between what I see with my eyes and the eyes that I look into of other people when I move around this planet, and what is on the screen and the page in mainstream culture. It bears no resemblance. So the question is, why would that be so different? Why would that be so artificial? Is it just because our reporters and media people are stupid and don't know how to depict a thing? Or is there something else going on? And that question has to be answered by the individual. I would propose to people that there is something else going on, which is television and the newspapers, the printing press, have been sequestered to be put in the hands of just like 2 or 3 organizations, which, you know, look on the internet, look at the current state of the movie and the newspaper and the media industry, and there's just a handful of organizations who own the lot.
Yeah.
So those people could very easily all sit in one room and decide what to do and what to put forward, what to raise up the headlines and what to put down the headlines. Very easily, and they do. That's exactly what they do. They regularly meet in private, although it's not that private because we know about it, but they regularly meet confidentially to discuss these things. And you get the sense that one of the greatest manipulations, very subtle it is that the other people who attend that meeting from organizations we call think tanks are shaping culture by proposing ideas to people through the media, largely through fiction, through the movie industry. So those organizations are saying, we want to introduce the idea of cataclysm to people, of earth-changing events through natural disasters. So we want 10 years, please, from 2005 to 2015 of that. We want that thrust in people's faces. And then that's exactly what happens over and over and over again. So these things don't organically occur. There's not an editor sat there thinking, well, what are the most important things going on in our state, in our country? Nobody's doing that. They're told what to yank up the top of that thing. And they're told through policy, and they're told through fashion of news. So who decides what's important? You know, why is it that the news every day is full of essentially war and sport and entertainment? Because I don't think that those constitute a very full picture of human life, of what's actually going on. I don't think those things describe it well at all. Sport, a lot of fun, but irrelevant. Entertainment, a lot of fun, but irrelevant. War, you're looking at a situation where things have already gone very badly wrong. What about everything else? Where is everything else? Where is human beings? Where is human life? Where is philosophy and psychology? Where are those things in the news? Where is the real human story of what people do and what they create and what they fabricate and what they fashion and what they harness? You know, where is that? There's none of that in the news, none at all. So the news presents a picture to human society to say, look, we're basically wrong. All we do is we grasp things as quickly as we can, and when that goes wrong, we fight other people for their stuff. And that's what humans do, and we're not very good. And again, that presents a negative picture to people to say, well, the world is broken, and there's nothing you can do about it. So get some nice stuff, get a nice place to enjoy it in, and just keep your mouth shut. So that's what the television is instructing people to do every day, particularly RTE and BBC, particularly because they are issuing a set of proposals and ideas based not on their own editorial policies, but on think tank constructs, which is to say, this is what we want the people concentrating on, and this is what we do not want the people concentrating on. And that sort of manipulation is rife. So in my book, The Unfoldment, I describe how that works and how to disinfect yourself, how to inoculate yourself against it, which of course, one simple thing you do, you get rid of your live broadcast television. If you want a big screen, fine, whatever, enjoy that. You know, it's nice to watch what you want to watch, but don't watch live broadcast television. Do not watch live broadcast television. It does something to you. Even if it's a lovely nature program, don't watch it.
Can you expand on that a little bit, Neil? In terms of the live broadcast versus, say, pre-recorded or something like that.
Well, it's kind of like a little bit esoteric, this, but if you create, let's say, you're a violent, aggressive, abusive man, but you have a great talent for art, right? And you get your paintbrush and your oil paints and you go out and you paint this fantastic picture.
Yeah.
Your violence and your aggression and your exploitative mental nature are in that painting, right? So everything that you do, your conscious signature is embedded within the product that you create, whether it's a dream or a thought or a painting or a document or a television program or a piece of music or a ceramic, vase. I was going to say vase then. Vase.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, it's embedded within that thing. So it's a little bit like saying, 20 years ago, nobody gave a monkeys about eating, battery farmed chickens, did they? You got a chicken, it was cheap. No one cared that it was in a cage. You just ate it. Nowadays, people are onto the idea that a happy chicken means good food, right? And an unhappy chicken means bad food. And there's some sort of energetic signature in that animal that translates to its very flesh. And I think people understand that now.
Yeah.
There's no difference, none at all, between that and the television. None at all. So when it comes through a conduit that is harnessed by an organization who oppose human nature, everything that goes through that conduit is tainted with that energy signature. So this is a little bit esoteric, I appreciate that. But to me, it's absolutely no different than if you were saying, well, if I'm going to drink water, what I really want is, crystal clear, naturally filtered mountain stream water. We have one of those near us. It's absolutely the best water you've ever tasted. Yeah. And then when you go back and have tap water, even though ours is not fluoridated, which is fantastic here in Portland, Oregon.
Look at you.
It doesn't, I know, it doesn't taste the same. It's different. And you start to realize that once you're exposed to impurity for a long time, you become immune to it. So it's like, a very long story, very short. A normal guy who I came across on my travels used to watch all the television, all the shows, all the cop shows, all the crime shows, loved all that stuff. And then, for whatever reason, they didn't have a TV for a year. He came back to it and he was horrified by the level of violence that was on the television, because in that interim period of not having one, he'd resensitized himself to human nature. And then when he saw the level of depravity and perversion on the screen, I mean, he's a broad-minded guy like me. He's seen a lot of stuff in the world. He's not like just some little cotton wool adventurer. He'd really seen some things, but his mind had resensitized to it. And he said, you know what? He said, I'm going to get rid of it again, because I don't see what I'm gaining by watching and doing this. I don't want to do it. And there's something he said, and he doesn't. We don't talk about the same issues that I usually do with people. He's not in that sphere for his own choices. But he said there's something in the live broadcast. There's something in the live broadcast. I can feel it. And I said, I think you're right. I said, we won't go into that right now, but you are right. So if you do like your nature programs or your, art history programs or whatever, two things that I like, for example, I'll get it on disc or, as computer files that somebody gives me or whatever on a hard drive.
Yeah.
And that's how I'll watch them. But watching live broadcast is a very peculiar thing that has an effect on one's mind. And I would say it's not very good.
Well, what you say makes a lot of sense, because on last week's Alchemy Radio, David Icke was on speaking about energies and energetic fields. And one thing that he mentioned that has just sprung to mind as you were speaking, Neil, is that around the time of 9/11, all the instrumentation that's used to, I suppose, track and graph electromagnetic frequencies and the vibrational field of the Earth, there was a spike on 9/11 because so many people were affected through the media, because let's face it, most people weren't in New York on that day, yet the whole world was massively affected by the events that happened, relayed through the media. And I think what you've described is pretty much exactly the same thing. So to me, it makes total sense, and I think it will to a lot of people. I know sometimes when I watch, you mentioned RTE a couple of times, which is the state broadcaster here in Ireland. And quite often when I'd watch a live broadcast, I don't actually have a TV myself, but if I'm in somebody else's house and it's on or whatever.
Yeah, sure,
I feel quite uncomfortable, and I think it's because I haven't been exposed. Growing up, I never had any problem with television, and it was always, I don't know, a means of escapism, and it was just watched because everybody watched it. But the less I've been exposed to TV over the last 5 or 6 years, the more I've noticed that when I am plonked in front of it, the more agitated I get. There's a sense that something doesn't feel exactly right. And
there is. It's almost like I'll tell you a very clear example of it, which is as an esoteric route, but as a very simple, solid, concrete demonstration in reality. In English television, British television, if you watch a show, let's say a nature show or a cooking show, you think, well, that's pretty harmless. What's the problem with that? Or a soap opera or something. Well, I don't know. That's pretty dangerous, actually. Let's stick with a cooking program, right?
Yeah.
So I'm watching, Hugh Fernley Whittingstall in his real cottage in England, doing some stuff, rearing animals naturally, telling us about how to properly grow tomatoes and potatoes and whatnot. And I can enjoy that for half an hour, really enjoy that. In the States, I've been here for a few years now. I live here, I love it, it's fantastic. But the television here is unwatchable for one major reason, in that they cut every scene, every camera angle, every second or two. So the camera doesn't stay in one position on one subject for more than a couple of seconds. And if you just sit back and just kind of blur your eyes and don't focus on what you're looking at, just the actual cutting, you know what I mean, the editing, you realise that it's slicing every single shot. They won't just have a camera on a pan of, frying potatoes. They'll have they'll go different angle, guy's face, pan, different angle, round the other side of the kitchen, blur, zoom in, zoom out, pan left, zoom out. And it's destroying the mind's ability to focus, because that is programming the mind to say, don't focus on anything, we'll show you what to do. Don't you decide what to look at and how to consider it. You don't have time. We'll cut it so fast that the narrative isn't delivered by you in your own contemplation. We'll deliver it to you. So if you don't allow somebody to stand still long enough, they can't formulate their own thoughts. What they'll do is accept what you tell them. And that's what's happening on television. So it's not the content as such, it's the style that producers and funders demand, which is very fast cutting. And nearly every single program